What's good? What's good? Welcome back, Real Talk Family. Is your co-host X.
Yo, 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 this Beasley Adams in the building. How y'all doing?
Hey, yo, this your man Banks.
And this is Gills.
So we got something special for the audience today. We starting our little kickoff with movie reviews, and our first movie review will be American Skin. Just it's written and directed by Nate Parker. Released in 2019 at a few festivals, and then released to America this month, 2021. So just wanted to push it over to Banks. He's going to go ahead and describe our rating system.
All right, y'all. So, our rating system, we got 5 words, 5 phrases that are going to describe how we feel about this film. At the very bottom, you got garbage can juice. That means this film was absolutely terrible. Nobody should even thought about making this film. This film never should even popped into anybody's head. Next, you got done. That more likely is going to fall on this movie was not executed properly. They didn't do proper casting. The writing was a little slow. Things like that. Then we're going to jump all the way over to Good Watch. Good Watch is a film. This is a film you don't really mind watching, but it's like a BET movie. You catch it on every now and then. You don't mind keeping it on the TV, basically background noise. Then you have our People's Choice. Now, the People's Choice, that's a film that's it's highly regarded by all the people around home. It might get a bad review on Rotten Tomatoes, but we don't listen to them anyway. So that's the movie that everybody loves it. Maybe the critics don't love it. Maybe a few stars don't love it, but it's low key a more than likely a hood classic. Then you have Certified Real. That means this movie checked off all the boxes. We hit star power, writing, casting, everything. Everything was on point. And that is our grading system, people.
Right. So let's get straight into it. So what y'all thought of the film?
So the movie, the movie, I thought it was cool. It was, I enjoyed it. Followed it pretty well. There were some things I would, like to see changed, but it wasn't horrible to me. The story was great. I felt like the story was interesting. I like the perspective that they took in how they showed it, presented it. Yeah.
What about you,
What about
Banks?
you?
What you thought?
I watched the movie I think last week. It was like the day after it came out. Um I like the approach. I felt like, I mean, of course you try to find something to critique. So I felt like there were some elements that they used that I didn't exactly feel like they were deemed necessary. But I felt like the writing that went into this movie and the execution was up there. I felt like they did a great job with with casting for the most part. A couple of selections in the movie kind of threw me off a little bit. I didn't understand why that actor or why that actor took that approach, but overall I think they did a good job.
About you,
What you
Gills?
think, Gil?
I thought it was good. I thought it was a good story, and I think there's certain points of the story that it could have been, it could have been told from a better perspective. You could have offered more light, shed more light. As far as from the cops standpoint, from their point of view, you could have. I mean, he's working with what he has, but I like the film what Nate Parker came up with what he had in front of him. So
I actually agree. I thought with the aspect of they could have shed more light on certain things. There was a lot of opportunities I felt like that they could have explored a little bit more, and that would have just made the film even better. I still, but I still, like the film and different things like that. So to get into the meat and potatoes now that we kind of got that out the way. So Gills, what are some of those things that you thought they could have elaborated on, did better, et cetera, et cetera?
Cinema, I guess, from the perspective of the camera, when you're acting, when you're looking at it from a film student point of view, if he's having the camera rolling, if you're doing that first person point of view thing, I think that could have been done a little bit better, or just, because there's times where we don't know if we're watching the film from like a third person point of view, or we're watching it from inside the lens of the film crew's camera. So I think that's one. I think that could have been it was kind of jarring at moments, but that could have been done better.
I definitely agree with that. I think because that was like when my first watch, that's kind of like what I didn't like about it. Because usually when people utilize like found footage, it's kind of in that to show like the realism of whatever it is they're trying to talk. That's why you see a lot of documentaries do found footage, right? Because they're trying to show like this was a real event, this really happened, et cetera, et cetera. So the second time I watched it, that's what popped in my head, like, oh, he's trying to do a realism type feel to the film. Like it's a documentary, but not really a documentary. And I think where he messed up was he kind of tripped up on expressing to the audience that's what he was trying to do, if that makes sense. But you see a lot of that with, like for example, he used like the real life footage of the cop cam of the incident. They used some news footage of that. So that's kind of like, that's what kind of got my mind clicking, like, oh, this is what he's trying to do. This is what he's trying to do. What did y'all think about that?
I kind of felt like he probably just didn't want to beat a dead horse. Of course, I don't know Nate Parker. I'm not in his head. I think it was kind of like a funny balance. Like you do a lot of movies like this, like what are some movies that have I think some movies that could have benefited from something like that was like I don't know if y'all ever seen Crash with like Ludacris, Terrence Howard, and all them. You remember when he was like filling up Terrence Howard's wife, like stuff that can benefit from stuff like that. I think he just didn't know like the balance of it, and I felt with that they tried to make what was it, Jordan, right? They made his character, they were trying to make him more of a focal point than what he was. And I kind of felt like, I don't know, I kind of felt like he was forcing it in that area. That's where I drew conflict with that, because I felt like they were trying to like force him to be like the first thing I think about is like in Just Cause with Jamie, and like they were trying to make him as focal to Nate Parker's character as Michael B. Jordan's character was to Jamie's character. Like I kind of like felt like they were trying to make him that focal, but it just wasn't working. And that was kind of like what I got from that aspect with the whole documentary student film thing.
Why do you think they tried to do that though? Like, why do you think he added that to the story?
I don't know, cause I truly feel like at one point, like, of course, there's gonna be cameras. You see all the parents of the kids who were killed, children and husbands and wives who were killed. They always go back and film the family, like with like news cameras. So maybe if he were to try a news perspective, maybe that's they're not as easy to control. Maybe I don't know. I think he felt like writing it with kids, like it's kind of easy for, I guess, easier to like control a college kid with a little camera, and you run up on him instead of like this big news crew that would become. Because you seen he used the news. I think I don't know.
What about
you? I think that's the reason why he did it, because that was the only reason he could have control of his story. If you see at the end where you compare to what he submitted to the film festivals or to the film people compared to what they said in the news, they just said he was crazy. He was mental. He was off his pills or some shit like that. They were going to do that anyway. So ex-Marine going crazy. So that's the way they played it. So he knew that, he had an opportunity where he didn't sign up for this kid he didn't ask this kid to come knock on his door and start filming him. But now that you're here, okay, I'm going to use you. I'm going to use you to my best advantage. And this is the only way I'm going to get my story told out in my perspective. So I think that was smart of him. I gave the writing, it was like a B plus for me, the writing. I think it made sense what he was trying to do. It just, the execution probably could have been better.
So I had two thoughts on it. I think, like I agree with what y'all saying, but I think he realized that he had that power once they sat down that first time. He was like, hopefully the world could see it, you know, meaning like if it's good enough and it makes it through the festival, somebody will pick it up and then the world can see it, right? So I think he was stuck on that idea of the world and can see it. And he said it at the beginning of the film, and then he said it at the end of the film when he came to him and said, "Oh, is this it? Is that all you wanted to do?" I think the reason why he wanted to push the character of Jordan so much was just for that ending speech that he had when he was talking to the people, the jury or whatever. So I think that's why he felt it like it was rushed, because in writing, you usually want to tease these type of things at the beginning to lead up, so you just don't have some random character deciding to do a whole Malcolm X speech at the end of the film, right? So you want to give him some dominance or some type of, foundation as the film goes on. Because I do definitely agree that he could have just be the director, like literally be a director, sit in the back, and then you're gonna have control of that story because he's the one with the guns, right? So just record, do what I want to do. So I definitely agree with that, with what y'all saying on that. But I do think that his acting talent, I guess, wasn't up to par to what they really wanted the character to be, so it kind of fell short a little bit on that. But I do agree that the writing is a B plus, but just like for a different reason. Right? What about you? What about you?
Yeah. Just it's tough for me because I don't know, the whole Amari Hardwick's character. I guess I'm stuck on him being Ghost. I just couldn't take him seriously. I don't know. It didn't make sense. But then on top of that, like, and we were talking about earlier with the military thing, like I was thinking when it came up, I was like, why did that come up? But then I guess like they had to do that, right? Just so like they could have like some type of formal training to be able to take over a whole police precinct, right? Like they have to have that type of background.
I didn't go that route. I didn't go that route.
That's what I thought. I was like,
I feel you, because if you really look at the way they took over the police precinct, they really just went in there on a hope and a prayer. Like there was nothing really strategic.
No, I agree.
So I can't even say it was that aspect. I think thinking about it, and I had like a voila moment while X was talking about it, is when they said it on the news, like, oh, he's went crazy. That's the reason the military part was played in there. So they could show you how it usually happens. Normally you're played off as this, like you could have been supplied. They're going to play you off as, oh, he was in the military. So a lot of civilians that don't know military, they automatically stamp you as PTSD. He's nuts. Right. And they don't understand any. So I feel now I get the them plugging in that military. But I was actually a little disappointed how they took the police precinct, because I was like,
I could have did better.
This could have went facts. This could have went completely left had y'all not just been able to outshoot them like that. It was really both of y'all couldn't shoot because nobody got hit.
But
not to mention, like, a couple. You had your boy, his uncle was there. He's an older guy,
or something like
and
that.
Then there was a couple other guys that were there that I'm like, I could have pushed those guys over myself. So I don't know how they. So that I was kind of upset about that part. But other than that,
I think my bad. Go ahead.
Yeah, just like. I guess I would like to see more
action,
like everything. They showed a little bit like after like the shooting. They showed a little bit of the shooting like with did I just freeze? They just showed a little bit of shooting of in between the court case or whatever. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But like you didn't see what happened, like how, because they got back together, right? The wife and the husband or whatever, or it seemed like, because she's like come back home or something like that. Like
she still cares about him, but they're not together.
Yeah, I think
go ahead. It just wasn't enough. I just feel like there wasn't enough in between when he died and when they took over the precinct. Like I just wanted to see a little bit more, just to see like what happened, because all of a sudden he went from they acquitted the guy, and next thing you know, it's a year later and he's taking over the place. It's like
No, that's not how it works. That's not.
It kind of felt like
the,
that. It
the
was
trial. The trial took a year.
No,
They acquitted him right before they went into, and then that was his decision maker.
Right, I thought the process was perfect. I thought the way they set it up was perfect, because everything that you're asking to see is not really needed. It doesn't move the story forward. If that makes sense, right? So like everything that we needed to see, he showed, and it could have been like what Gil's mentioned, like maybe they just didn't have the budget to put it in, so that's why they did it like that.
Hour and a half.
But at the end, when you think about it, what really can they show in that aspect that they didn't show, right? So like we know that what happened to the son. We didn't really need to see to know what happened to the son, but we know what happened to the son. We don't really need to know what's going on, because the story is not about what's happening from the day that it happened to the court date. So all of that information that's right there is not needed to move the story forward, right? But they do show us a little bit from when the camera crew gets there and say, hey, we want to talk about this situation. And then we show little things like when he goes to work, what he does at work. We meet some of his friends, and then it gets to the court date, to the date where they're going to determine. They show that they don't even show anything in court. They just show that what the ruling is. And I think another reason why it's good, because as the audience watching it, that's how we would see it, right? So like in real life, when somebody gets shot by the cop, all the audience see is the video of it happening, right? The video of it happened, the outrage from people, which they did show some of the outrage, and then the decision, right? That's literally what we see as an audience on a regular day. We don't never go on social media and be like, I wonder how the family's doing. Are they still working? Do they, how they feeling and stuff like that? Like the audience doesn't think about that or see that. So I think the way they did it actually kind of works. What I think fell short a little bit was because they didn't show us that they was planning and how they got in there. They just showed us, boom, they in there shooting and they got it, right?
That's what I was trying to kind of say.
I think that's what get caught up. But I think we can kind of use our imagination on how they took. Like, I don't think they needed to show how they took it over to move forward, to move the story forward. Because I think that's a lot. That's a big part of it. Like when you're writing and you're creating a film, whatever you're doing, whatever you're adding, you got to ask yourself, how does this move the story forward? So showing me, in the prone, crawling up to the side of the building or kicking down the door and all that stuff, how does that move the story forward? Can I show that without it? Do I need it? Things like that. So I think that's where we kind of like, stumble over on that aspect of that part of the film.
I think another thing on the film, we're going back to the reason why they made him part of the characters part of the military. I think it's widely regarded, in America that, we look at the people in the military, people who served as patriots. And so we hold them at a higher regard. And so showing that, something like this could happen to somebody who, fought for their country or, somebody who served their country and, they still treated like shit when they get back home. That's part of the thing where, they're trying to make it, especially when the speech the grandma gave about, she told him, he needs to hear this, that, they still treated you like this even after everything that you did for your country. So, and then everything with, as far as Amari Hardwick, what you were talking about, Adams, I was saying, I get what you're saying with Ghost. It's hard to shake that character off.
It wasn't even.
But I wasn't mad. I wasn't mad at his character. It wasn't much to him. I'm dying of cancer. I'm a ride for you. You're my brother, and wherever you go, I'm rolling with you. Whatever decision you make, pretty much I got you.
My thing was with Amari Hardwick.
His hair.
I don't watch Power. I just didn't believe it. Like everything he said.
That's what I'm saying. It wasn't
the way. He just wasn't believable. Like I'm looking at him, and I'm just like,
what wasn't believable about him?
It just, I didn't see him as this. I didn't believe he was a military vet. Like I just didn't believe the character. And then with the cancer, I don't really see the point in him having cancer. Like I don't.
He's ready to die.
Exactly.
That's
I feel
the point.
it.
Yeah, that's
I feel it, but it's like
Why
at
else
the
do it
same
then?
time, like why did anybody else do it? He had like 8 other people with him.
I think it was the
That's
grit.
the part I don't know.
I
That's
think
the
I
part
think
I
it
don't
was
know.
the
See,
grit.
that's what I was talking about, the in between stuff though, because we don't know none of that stuff.
But what I'm saying is like the questions that we're asking about why cancer, why these things, it doesn't really move the
Move
story
the story
forward or
forward.
Yeah,
or
like
stop or slow the story down. You know what I'm saying? So the questions we're asking it doesn't really take away from the story or add to the story. You know what I'm saying? Like him having cancer or not having
oh
cancer
yeah, I feel you.
doesn't add to the story. Who was the two, his two boys that was just there helping doesn't really add to the story. Like they could have took it over with 3 people if they really wanted to. They had automatic rifles. You know what I'm saying? And they had the captain as a hostage going into the situation. So if
They
they
didn't have to
wanted
fire
to,
a single shot.
yeah, they could have took it over anyway, right? So just them shooting stuff is kind of just an attention grab, if
Oh, yeah.
anything, right? So
I don't think they went in wanting to kill anybody.
Nah,
Yeah,
we
that
know
was-
he
He
didn't
said
want
that
to
at
kill
the end.
anybody.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, we already know that. But so moving forward, some things that I found very interesting, was with how the conversation that it was, because the film is really dialogue heavy. So the conversation that they had where he set everything up like it's a court, and this is your judge, and it was just, I mean, your jury, and it was just some things that kind of hit home that he said, like when he said this is your jury, and it was just average people, some people that work there, civilians, and then some of the nonviolent convicts, and the cop said there's no officers. Yeah, there's no officers on the pier. So what do y'all think about the conversation aspect that they was having about police brutality, pretty much?
For one, I liked how they wrote Kajani. I liked how they portrayed his character, because I actually had a soldier who was just like that. Like he believed this won't happen to me as long as I abide the law. And I really appreciated that they made his character like that, because there are kids who really believe that, like for certain. 23-year-old kid in my last deployment, and I had to like really explain that shit to him, just like he explained to his son and his friend over the little call. So I really appreciated how they did that, and going into the conversation, I feel like that was the part that he nailed it. Like I feel like he hit it right on the head, because you had everybody from every angle of it who had their own perspective in there. You had the female cop who was
a minority.
Who was a minority, but at the same time, she still believed in the justice system. Like she still had her piece on it. You had the Hispanic guy who defended
the sellout.
Yeah, that part. So you had him, because that's real shit. Like you really gonna see that. I can't say whether that's active use, but he sold me on it. Like I felt like those two, the one who shot him and the dude who defended him, I felt like they sold their parts down to they believe that.
I even think the second cop that was there that like pulled him over, the 2 cops, I even think he sold his point of view too, because I think that's the point of view of a lot of people in this situation. And I think that conversation was so on point in a way that that it was like a fault to them in a way, because that's the conversation that we always have. Like that's the point of view of everybody. And I just was expecting a different delivery and a different approach to tell that story. So I just feel like what he did was just tell us the story that we already knew and just gave us a visual to it, which is what kind of was my bone to pick with this particular film. What you think, Gills?
I don't think you're gonna solve the black versus blue situation in under an hour and 29 minutes. So I think he raised what Nate was trying to do was just raise the conversation, bring it back to the forefront, and just trying to offer everybody's perspective. Even if you go down to the nonviolent offenders, you got the person that's just there paying their ticket. You got the dude. I think he was Muslim. He was in he was one of the nonviolent offenders. He had a lot to say. There was a lot of different perspectives. You got one point there speaking Spanish, they're having a whole conversation in Spanish. I don't know what's going on, but
No
Right.
no
you can tell.
subtitles.
No subtitles whatsoever. But
I thought
you
that was a
can-
dope aspect that
I
he
did
added to the
too.
film. Yeah.
because only those two understood. That was dope. I thought that was good direction.
Because
And
that
not
again,
only-
that's real life.
Yeah,
That's
and
real
they
life.
use
Yeah.
and they use his responses as context to help us understand what they was talking about, right?
Yeah.
And I felt like it also showed how far away from the culture that cop was, because in an aspect where he barely wanted to say anything in Spanish. Like everything he said, his responses was all English, not Spanish. And I felt like that said something in itself also to his character, what he was doing, the environment that he was in as a cop, different things like that. And of course, according to everything else that he was also saying, to add to that whole conversation that they had.
I don't think it was. I don't think he was trying to solve anything by writing the film the way that he did it. I just think he was just wanting to offer different perspectives that maybe the person that's screaming Blue Lives Matter, maybe if, for some reason, if they happen to stumble upon this movie, maybe they're offered a different perspective, and they might still stick to their guns. They might still stick to what they believe, but at least they know that other point of view is. Same thing goes vice versa. You might not see it from a cop's point of view. I think they did a good job of telling, some of, what the cops are go through. You do is just like a following protocol, a profile, because, that's what we do just to help solve crime. Like, what else can we do? But not that I agree with it, but I thought that was an interesting thing to tell it from their side.
Word, and I like that because I felt like they gave us some information that we kind of didn't know if it's true. Like the whole after shooting, they go home. And then they had that conversation about like how traumatizing it is on why they go home, different things like that, which we hear that all the time where, cops shoot somebody, they don't minister any time or anything like that. They just, wait, like say the cops shoot somebody and the person's on the floor bleeding, they don't try to help. We heard stories of the cop calling their superiors or their representatives and stuff to see what are they doing in the situation, different things like that. So to hear that out of the cop's mouth, I felt like it was newfound information, and it kind of helped that conversation move forward.
I think as far as the main character Linc, I don't think he. And I think it's really over the nose. They made him Lincoln Jefferson. I think like two presidents, whatever. But they trying to beat it over the head. But Lincoln or Linc, I don't think. The only problem I had with him is they didn't write it. I don't think it was written from a point where I felt that he was going into the precinct with a plan, with a backup plan. He was going in there. I don't know if it's not clear if he was going in there ready to die. Part of me wants to believe that, yes. But a part of me is thinking that, all right, so did you just randomly think, all right, I'm just going to pick up 12 people from here, from downstairs, and they're just going to so happen to be nonviolent offenders. And then they're just going to have somebody that's just a foreman that was on the judge, that was a jury member before. If he didn't do that, what was the whole point? How do you convey that to the other people that you told that, we're going to go raid the precinct? How do you convey that, I'm not just going to go and risk my freedom. I'm not going to go to prison as much as I want to be down for your cause. I'm not just going to go to prison just based off of a, kind of a fleeting plan. I need something more concrete. So it wasn't clear to me, what the goal was. Eventually he came out with a good goal, with what he wanted to accomplish, but I don't know if he came in there with the direct plan.
I kind of think he did. I kind of think that he did have a plan of doing what he did. And of course, when you make a plan like that, there isn't no guarantees. Like you're not guaranteed to find somebody who's been on a juror or anything like that. And I think
what do you do? What do you do?
I don't even think that's needed. I don't even think that's needed because like he said it. I just want you to determine the guilt. Like, how do you feel? Wrote your conscience. He said it several times in the film. And I think when you're going into a jail, if it's a jail that's holding people, you can assume that there's going to be some non-violent and violent offenders when you walk into a jail, because a jail is just a holding place for anything, for people get caught with drugs, get caught drunk,
But they were
drinking,
down to
peeing.
11 people. They were down to 11 people. So like, what do you do with the 12? He had to get somebody from the film crew, Jordan.
Yeah.
So why didn't you just get another?
But I think that was just Hollywood. I think that's just Hollywood, the movie, the writing. Like I said earlier, I think they was like gearing Jordan up for that moment.
Yeah. I
Giving
think
him
like
more lines to speak, giving him an opinion and stuff
that's
like
understood.
that. So,
but I'm talking about like, why wouldn't you get like another? If there was a whole slew of people in orange suits down, in the basement or whatever, why wouldn't you just get another one? Or did it have to be a nonviolent offender? And did
I think he got non-violent offenders just to
purpose,
ease,
yeah.
just like to ease the situation. Like, why put killers and stuff like that up there in that situation? Because remember, he didn't handcuff them; he unhandcuffed them. That's why the dude was able to attack the cop. So I think just the way that's why he asked for the guy who does processing. I want to get non-violent defenders. I think that was all on purpose and planned, just based off, because he said who does processing, who works on the computers. Like, he asked that question.
It was a little bit movie for me, a little too movie for me when it's just directly 12 people. That's just to be non-violent offenders. That's just waiting there. That's what I talk about. That's what I mean by what
I feel like he replaced him. I feel like he replaced him with Jordan, because at that point, the process is already started. You've already started presenting cases. You're not gonna go get another juror from outside the court who's never heard any of the shit said before.
That's true.
Then due to the judicial system, which was what he was trying to run it like, you would have to start all over, and they didn't have that kind of time. Yeah. So you've heard everything. Sit your ass down and help me make this decision.
Right.
So I feel like that would have been their reason for placing Jordan instead of going to get another cop.
But I think you got to assume that there's people in the precinct at any given time, like civilian workers, inmates. There's always individuals like that inside of the main jail, whatever it was. So, but I do think that he had a plan that he was going to do similar like that with things. If things fall out, he just have to wing it or whatever. But like moving, there were some things that I think hit home that I wanted to ask to see if that hit home for y'all at the same time, right? So like in these moments, in these different type of situations, BLM has certain sayings and different things like that, like say her name, say his name, say their name. And while he was interviewing him, like talking to him, he made him say his son's name. And I thought that was like a little nod towards that they never do that. Just like when Jordan was doing his speech and he said, it's all, support the blue, the cops was in the right, but they didn't show anything of a kid passing away. They didn't have any posters like, acknowledging that kid passed away. Can y'all think of any moments like that that hit home for y'all?
I would say for me, it was more so before he died though, and I would like touch back to the point of him being so headstrong in like convincing his dad and that's because I think it touched with me more because I've done that before. Like, I've had to do that with somebody that wasn't my son, of course, but I had to sit there and make him understand, like, no, the system, it's supposed to be fair. That's what it's supposed to do, but that's not what it does. You riding with this is the most dangerous thing to ride with at all times. And then it touched me more so because I do have a son and I do have somebody I'm gonna have to sit down and explain this shit to later. So I feel like that part was where it touched me like more than any other part of the film, because I got to do that someday. Like, I can't say my son's gonna definitely get shot down in dealing with police brutality. I can't say that's gonna happen, but I do know I have a responsibility as a Black father to let my son know who he is and what he is and the danger he faces every time he walk out the door. So
definitely. What about you, Gills? What you think? You have any moments like that hit home?
I thought I got you. I thought the speech by Jalen, when the cop tries to tell him to calm down in his aunt's house, and when when he is sitting there and he has his camera phone out. I thought a lot of what he said was kind of mirroring what you see people chanting in during the marches, the protesting down the streets. It was the same kind of vibe. It was the same kind of demeanor that he had. Where it's just frustration and there's nothing you can do because they're acting in a position of authority and they're not even trying to hear you out. They're just trying to. The cop just went there just saying, "All right, let's give us our speech on television just to tell people to calm down and stuff like that." I thought the other thing was when they asked Linc what he was going to do if the jury went the other way. And he kind of said, well, I would have just turned myself in, that kind of thing. I thought that was telling to where how far he was willing to go. And of course, obviously the scene, shooting, the blank that, well, not the blank, but shooting the empty gun, at the officer, Mike Randall, just to give him that. It wasn't until that moment that offered, that much perspective from the Randall side. Now that was a quick turnaround for that officer to just go from, fuck you. He literally said fuck you like 45 minutes earlier to Linc's face, and then now to, hey, can I walk out with you or whatever. I thought that was a little too over the nose, but yeah, I thought those are some of the most poignant moments that I saw in the film.
What about you, Beastly?
I mean, I don't want to beat the horse down. You guys pretty much hit like a lot of the major ones. That, I mean, definitely the one about with the son, and having that whole conversation, that whole thing, and how he was talking about like especially in the courtroom scene, like he'll never be able to whatever anything with his son, and like that because I've experienced that myself. So definitely knew that hit home. That I felt like a lot of the flips, the stereotypes that they how they flipped in the courtroom scene with like the whole like he's like, I don't got a jury of my peers, and he's like, nigga, come on, you know what I'm saying? Like all those type of things that they highlighted in that scene, I thought was like real dope. That was like my favorite part of the movie, because it's like that stuff is not talked about a lot, because and even how like they show the different perspectives of how everybody was talking, because those type of people, everybody in that courtroom that they actually showed, and more people were missing, but an hour and 29 minutes, you're not gonna be able to show all that, but all those people exist, like for real, like I know all those people. I've worked with those people, you've worked with those people, like they all exist, they all feel that way. So I like the way they put that. And the final thing though I wanted to say was at the end, the very, very end of the movie, when they were running the news clip and they were talking about the guy, and then as soon as the guy was done, and it was like, and on to sports, and the white news reporter was talking about a black, his favorite, Eminem, black, 6'9", da 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 da. I was like, and his name was like some
Eminem, yeah. Montavious or something.
Yeah, super black name, and it was like the funniest thing, because me, I talk to my wife all the time and friends of mine about how people can't. I don't understand how people could be racist and support professional football teams and basketball teams, because it's like your favorite basketball team is 95% black, but you talking about niggas. Like I don't understand it.
It's entertainment, dance.
But yeah, I guess, but yeah, I mean, no, you're right, but that was I thought that was I liked how they did that in the end,
because it showed that realism that we see on a regular basis. I think there's a couple of other ones that kind of went under the radar. There was one moment where at the end, once he pulled the trigger, we realized that he was just trying to show him that feeling.
I thought that was dope,
right? And then what he did that I guess I didn't like was, I felt like at that moment, as the movie went forward, he reversed everything that he did, right? So like he put handcuffs back on those black inmates, set the cops free, let them go, and then it leads off into him getting shot. And I feel like the kind of message that I got after that was, we're gonna do all of this, We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna work it out. We're gonna get people to agree with us, but the outcome is still gonna be, another black man dead in the streets. I think that was really powerful, and I think the conversation that he had with his wife on a FaceTime was also really, really powerful when he was saying that why us as people, as the black community, we always got to take one on, take one on the cheek, take another on the cheek, and then be the bigger person in these situations when the opposite end is getting violent immediately. And I think that's another thing that kind of added to the military aspect of things was like, nah, I've seen this before. I see this all the time. I've been there. I've done that. I know how they operate. I know how they move. I know how they work when they go overseas, what they do, different things like that. So I think it was really powerful. I think the film was really, really powerful. I think it's gonna work in our community as something that we can, stand on and support. And I hope people do go out and support it, watch it, and have those conversations that he is pushing forward. Because I do like Nate Parker's work. So what's your final thoughts on the film?
Are we ranking it?
We can. What are y'all thinking? Final thoughts.
I thought it was a good watch.
What about you, Banks? What you think?
I got it like right on the border, a good watch and people choice. But I'm leaning towards more good watch. Because I feel like for the purpose that it was put out, yeah, it did serve its purpose. So it gets that people choice nod. But for me, it's a good watch for a personal.
What about you think? What do you think, Beasley?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with good watch. It could definitely be a people's choice, really, like real easily, and it could really, I mean, we changed a couple other things. It could be a classic. I mean, a real talk, just because that story was real good. But it's definitely a good watch. I'm really excited to watch it again. I'm about to go watch it again here with the wife. So
I'm gonna go on a limb and I'm gonna say I think it was a people's choice. I was leaning between. I was leaning between good watch and people's choice. If it wasn't a story, which it probably wouldn't be good at all. But I think I'm gonna say I think it's a people's choice because I think it's a story that our community can get behind and support. Right. So I think it embodies that information that we wanted to push, that we want to get out there. It has that support. It doesn't lack in the representation that a lot of films that fall along those lines does. So that's why I would say it was a people's choice.
I went with good watch just because I don't think you can be, because I thought the movie John Q was a people's choice. So I don't think it was on par with John Q. And I think Linc, he went home after his son died and watched, John Q one too many times and just decided to do his own version of that. And so not Nate Parker, but like the actual character Linc. And so I went that. But yeah, that's what I went with. Good watch.
All right, so there it is, people. That's our movie review. Definitely go check it out. We're going to go ahead and put that information in the bio for you. And then that's it for us. We out.
Ciao. Deuces.